This is the question and answer session for February 5th. Public Health Director Annette Rodriguez, Dr. Chris Berg. I'm addressing questions received this week. Please feel free to add your follow-up questions to chat. Today's questions are going to focus on vaccine clinics and local vaccine access. Before we get to the questions, I'd like to extend congratulations to Director Rodriguez on being a Corpus Christi Why Women in Careers honoree this year. We're in some pretty high-powered company. Well done.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Congratulations, Annette.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to get into the questions. All of the questions are for Annette, and then one of them is for both Annette and I. So, first question on vaccine clinics. Is there a clinic today?
Now for the health district, there isn't. We don't currently have any vaccines. So I heard tomorrow Spawn South is having a drive-through, but I don't have the details around that. But not for the health district. We don't have any vaccines currently.
Okay, so people need to check for other venues at which they might get the vaccine. Maybe Spawn South has something going on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, do we have any details for upcoming clinics?
So we did hear that we have an allocation. We have an allocation, which means that the state is setting aside some vaccine for us for next week. So 5,000 first doses and 8,000 second doses. We were really looking for 9,000 second doses. We also heard the state also mentioned that there is some shortages right now. So we're going to try to make sure that everybody gets their second dose. And we're also trying to help other providers in the community that are short for their second doses as well. If we're able to help them, we'll do that as well.
So for those for those people that have had their first dose, how will they know when it's their turn to get their second dose?
So that's a great question. So people that got their first dose on January the 11th or the 12th or the 15th or the 16th, that's when we did the 9,000 first doses for them. This week, the week of February the 8th, is the week for their second doses. You don't have to be so exact. It doesn't have to be 28 days after the first dose. It can be 4 days earlier than that. It could be 24 days after the first dose, and it could be up to 42 days after the first dose. So we have some wiggle room in there. So that's because we know that vaccines aren't coming out exactly at the time that they should be coming out. So as soon as we receive those, we're going to set up a second dose clinic for those individuals, and we're actually giving them slots now. So we might say these 500s come at 8 o'clock, these 500 people come at 9, these 500 come at 10. So it's not going to be the same as when you came in the first time for first doses and there was 10,000 cars here and we only had 5,000 doses. These are specifically for you, those people that have had their first dose and now they're needing their second. It's specifically for you. You're going to get a text message from the software system. And so if you don't have a cell phone, it won't go to your landline because that's not how text works. It's an SMS. But what we'll do for those people that have landlines is we will reverse alert you, and we'll give you all the details of where, when, the time, the place. And you really don't need to be there before the time we tell you. We had one yesterday, and we had it where it was scheduled, and we told people to come at 8:30, and they actually came at 6. So they didn't need to get there till 8:30.
Yep. And I'd imagine that if people don't listen and they're all coming early, then it creates a situation where they have to wait longer, right? And it's better just to come at the time you're scheduled.
Right, but I always think of my dad. My dad always wants to anticipate something might go wrong, so he always wants to get there a couple hours early. And that's okay, but I mean, that wasn't time that we told you to be there. We told you to be there at 8:30. You probably would have been rolling out by 9:30. So, but some people came at 6, and so it's okay. It worked out, and we got them through. But really, the time we give you, you're right, is the time that they should come, because otherwise you're just waiting in a bigger line than you have to.
Right, and last week you had indicated that if there were 2 lines and there are some people with needing first dose and some people needing second dose in the same car, they should go to the first dose line. Is that still the recommendation that you have?
Yes, definitely. We're hoping that we're not doing first doses and second doses on the same day, but when we do, if we have to, so we did that last week because the gun show was going on. and there's a lot of additional traffic, so we're kind of trying to work around these things. This coming weekend, not tomorrow and Sunday, but the following weekend, when we have those second doses, it's going to be the country peddler. So we're trying to get them all done before the country peddler, so we don't have those traffic nightmares for people. But again, second doses are so much easier than first doses, because if we invite 1,000 people, it sounds like a lot, but we're spreading you out, and that's all that's coming. There's not going to be 2,000 people there, and if they are, we're going to send them away. Because you get a special password that we give only to you, that you shouldn't share with anybody else, and that gets you in and makes it very clean. We put your second dose in there, and you're done. It's very quick. It's, you know, a big difference from, I think, you'll see from when the first dose.
All right. So something that's new is this past week, the federal government said that they're going to start sending vaccines to pharmacies. Will our CVSs and Walgreens and HEBs be providing these vaccines locally, or do you have any information on that?
Yes, absolutely. So I actually have 2 Walgreens that are going to be providers that have signed up, and that's the Walgreens on South Staples and Weber. They haven't received any yet, so don't go over there telling them where's the vaccine, because they have none. They're just approved providers. I also have the Walmart pharmacies, one on Highway 77, one on Greenwood, one at Flower Bluff, one on South Staples, and one on Saratoga, that are all providers, so they'll be receiving as well. CVSs are the largest pharmaceuticals. They're actually registered with at the federal level with CDC, and so they were actually tasked to initially vaccinate the long-term care facilities, the nursing homes, the assisted living facilities. So they don't get onto our list, but they've assured us that they're getting vaccine as well to CVSs. But right now they're working on some other projects. Once that project is complete, then they will start getting vaccines as well, and then you can set it up on a regular rotation. We also know that all the HEBs in Corpus, the one in Flower Bluff, on Saratoga, on Weber and Holly, on Leopard and Violet, on Alameda and Robert, in Mopac, and Alameda and Texan, and Southport and Castores, they all receive currently 200 doses a week. And so they're trying to set that up too, where I don't know if they're still on the phase 1A, but they're going to be moving very quickly to phase 1A, 1B, and they're going to be setting up appointments. The hardest part of this vaccine is that when you draw up one dose, you have to draw up the other 9 doses. There's 10 doses in a vial if you're drawing up Moderna. There's 5 doses in a vial if you're drawing up Pfizer. And so they want to make sure that people keep their appointments, or they call if they're going to cancel, because we are not wasting one dose in Nueces County.
Right, well, that sounds good. We definitely don't want to waste any doses. How about for the homebound population? The question is explicitly on Robstown, but I figured this is probably a more general question. Will our homebound population be given their vaccines at home, or will they have to go somewhere else to get them?
So the homebound population, and specifically for Robstown, we did, in partnership with the Robstown EMS, they did 40 yesterday. These are people that really have no way of leaving their home for whatever, reason, limitation they have. And so EMS actually went and took care of those 40. Corpus Christi Fire Department also has set up a program called SOS, Saving Our Seniors. And they started with Meals on Wheels. So these are individuals too that are elderly, that really have trouble leaving their homes to go pick up a meal. And so our department did all of those. So they went to each of the houses where a meal was delivered and offered them a COVID-19 vaccine. And then they waited there for the 15-minute required time or the 30 minutes. They're also working through the senior community center, because we already have a process set up for people to receive meals, like at the Greenwood Senior Center or the Zavala Senior Center or the Lindale, whatever senior center, there's already a process. So as they come to receive their meals, as they receive doses, the fire department, they're actually offering them a vaccine through that mechanism as well, and then just asking them to sit, they can eat their meals in their car, and they monitor them for the 15 or 30 minutes.
Right, but that sounds really good. So we have another question here about how doses are allocated. So how did the doses get divvied up among states and then within the states to different places? Is it by population, or is there some other sort of metric that's used to decide who gets how much?
It actually was initially by population. The week that's coming up, February the 8th, is the week 9 allocation, and so we know we're getting 5,000 first doses for week 9. What's going to happen week 9 is a very important week for everybody, because if you get doses and you're not putting them in people's arms, the state has guaranteed us that on week 10, you're going to see a reduction on the number of doses that you're going to get. That includes everybody on the list, not just those pharmacies I mentioned, because the only ones from those pharmacies I mentioned is HEB that actually has doses, and they go through them very quickly. But there's a lot of other providers. I think we're close to 90 providers currently, and we can still add additional providers. I was talking to a home health care agency. Now they want to get vaccinated. They're in the 1A, and I told them they should have already gotten vaccinated. But they should also sign up as a provider, because they have a population of home health patients, 281 patients that they want vaccinated. If they had signed up as a provider, or if they still do sign up as a provider, they can get some of those vaccines and then they can start vaccinating them. And so, anyway, it's not too late to sign up as a provider. The more providers we have, the more the state is trying to kind of make sure that all these providers start getting vaccines. Again, though, Walmart's haven't gotten vaccine yet. Neither have the Walgreens. CVS has, but they're using them for something specific right now, and that's for the long-term care facilities.
All right. Okay. Moving on. So last week, when we were asked what we would tell ourselves a year ago, what was about to happen, you had mentioned that I think that you had said something like you would tell yourself to remember to exercise more. And I know that I myself have also kind of let myself go during COVID, and with the idea that, this is never going to happen again, hopefully, and this is the time to step up. And I kind of, maybe spent more time in front of a computer and less time out and exercising. I might have put on, a few pounds. So I've been trying to get healthier too. And I was wondering, what is it that you've been doing to try to get into better shape during the pandemic?
Well, and that's a great question, Chris. Many times I turn off my video, first of all. I'm always trying to, I try to keep a weight around a 5-10 pound weight, and I try to, I tell people I can't stand for my arms to have Batman wings, and so it might be fatter, all over, but that part bothers me the most, and so I always try to keep at least 1 or 2 weights close by. And then I pick them up, and then I just try to do, so whatever exercise I can do while I'm on the WebEx or Zoom, because to be honest with you, I'm on mostly WebEx and Zoom 10 hours usually a day. Mm-hmm. It's amazing how we just go from one to the next, to the next, to the next, and it doesn't end at 5 o'clock anymore. The state started right after Christmas. They started working weekends as well, so we go right into the weekends. We always have locally, but now the state is, so they're putting WebExes on us for the weekend, so we know about the Moderna vaccine, so we know about the Pfizer, so we know about the dates, the wiggle room for the second doses. All of these things we're constantly having to learn, and so that's what I'm doing right now. Do I need to step it up? Absolutely. But I actually need to back away from the computer at some point too and move around. I don't go out. I don't get in my car. I don't, I don't even see daylight or rain or sunshine. Sometimes I go out and it's so bright. It's amazing because I'm in front of this computer all day. And when I do leave my office, I take the computer with me, and that's just to respond to emails. Some of them are very nasty emails about how we're not doing enough, even though we're trying our hardest. I just don't have vaccine. If I had vaccine, I'm being honest, I would figure out a way to work 24/7 to get them into people's arms. I just don't have vaccine. And so that's the problem right now, and as we get them, we're turning it around as fast as we can.
Yes. So I myself, I'm not exercising while I'm on the WebEx sessions, but what I started doing was simulating a commute. I normally ride my bike to school, which is about 5 miles away. And so I got one of these trainers that you can attach your bicycle to, and now I ride it in the morning before I start work. But what I figured out is that I can control my computer from the phone, and it's kind of like this virtual riding. And so I can have the screen split and be riding on one side and be like putting together my PowerPoint presentations on the other side. And I do that maybe for an hour in the mornings that I teach. So that's one thing that I've been trying to do to start to get back into my fighting weight.
You need to share that with me. I need to figure out some other ways to do this, because most of the time if I turn my video off, right away they say, I don't know if she's there. So then I turn the video back on, and I need to do some other things. I need to, need to jog in place. I needed to do something more than what I'm doing, because that's not enough to take any pounds off. I mean, my arms feel better, I'll be honest with you. Again, I'm just starting this. They feel better to me, but I know that that's not enough. I need to do a lot more than that. But yes, if you could remind me, if you could share some of these things with me, or even, the public, if you have things that, that work for you. Now, if you're under 100 pounds, please don't send it to me, because I really, I think you're just thin, period. I don't think you have to do anything for that. I think you just have that gene, that wonderful gene like my sister has. But otherwise, yeah, I'd absolutely love to know how to do this. It's really easy. You would think I would never get to eat, but I do. Sometimes, they just bring me food. They feel sorry for me, so they just like slip food in and I eat it. That's another reason I turn off the video, because I'll eat something.
Yeah. And this connects to COVID, because one of the comorbidities is BMI. And if you have a BMI of 30 or above, you're eligible to get vaccinated right now. And I would venture a guess that a large proportion of Texas has a BMI of 30 or above.
You're absolutely correct. But and the older people get so upset with that, because they're like, why are they getting? They look like they're fine. They're coming through your line. I mean, that's not for me to determine. If you're an asthmatic, if you're a cancer survivor, it's not for me to make that decision just because you're 38, that you should be waiting because a 70-year-old needs the vaccine. In fact, when we first started the 1B population, we asked the state if we could just do 65 years and older. And they asked us not to do that. They asked us to do both. Now they've kind of said, well, maybe we should just do the 65 years and older and get them done. But, I mean, this waffling back and forth, causes people to not believe what you're saying. If you're in the 1B and you're eligible and you can get in, you should get in and get vaccinated, because you're also at risk for worse outcomes if you do pick up the virus.
So I just don't want to believe that I fall in that group, I guess. I'm working on getting out of it.
Good. Well, people actually are texting and emailing me telling me that they're telling me what their BMI is, so they can get a COVID vaccine. And I'm like, I believe you, it's just, I don't have any vaccines right now. I think the other thing I need to tell the public is that if you got a first dose somewhere else, they're asking you what the process is for their second dose. I wouldn't know that. I know what our process is for the health district if you're going to the Richard Borch or Fairgrounds for one of those vaccines, or to the American Bank Center that we started last week. But I can't tell you the process is for all the other providers, because I don't know it. You'd have to ask them what their process is for.
That makes sense. Okay, that's all the questions that we had for today that we got over the week. Tiffany or Jason, or do we have additional questions from the audience today?
We do. I have a quick question for you, Annette. Do you like to play tennis?
Oh, I love to play tennis.
Would you like to play sometime?
I would. You invite me. If I'm available, I will be there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we do have some questions. I will start with the most recent one. When will we know who will be in 1C group?
When will we know who will be in the 1C?
Yes.
So right now they're working on that. The state of Texas, the Department of State Health Services, they're kind of looking at what CDC is recommending for the 1C. And then each state gets to determine, based on the needs of their state, what population they feel best meets that 1C needs. I haven't reviewed it, to be honest with you, but in my mind, a lot of this has been very similar to swine flu. And so I think it's going to be more of the critical infrastructure people. So, but if people, people are waiting for like their occupation to be listed. They shouldn't be doing that, because I'm getting a lot of emails from teachers saying, when is it going to be teachers? What I'm going to say to you is, if you're over the age of 65, or if you're over the age of 16 and you have a comorbidity like we just talked about, it could be obesity, it could be heart disease, it could be any number of things, then you're already eligible. Get vaccinated. The other thing is, don't wait until vaccine comes to you. A lot of the schools are saying, when are you going to come to us? When are you going to come to my home health care agency? When are you going to come to, we're trying to vaccinate the masses, so if people could come to us, instead of us trying to move all of our cones and everything to you, our job is to get as many vaccines in people's arms as fast as possible. And the way we're going to do that is by having an area location like we do at the Richard Morton Fairgrounds or American Bank Center, and then people come to us to get the vaccine.
Easier to move people than the vaccine to
Absolutely.
special places.
Well, moving the whole, it's not just moving vaccines, it's not picking up an ice chest and moving, it's moving the whole caboodle.
It's an operation.
There you go, it's the whole operation you're having to move.
I call it the Disneyland of vaccines.
Yes, and we actually got a compliment. So one person said that it was set up almost as well as Disney, which is a huge compliment. And somebody told us about 2 weeks ago that we should consider calling Chick-fil-A to get some help, on doing it better. And then yesterday, whenever we did our 1,000 doses, they said that it was better than Chick-fil-A.
That's high praise right there.
Yeah, so I was just like, I don't see the Chick-fil-A, but okay, I don't need to look at that. I'm trying to lose weight. But, that's a huge compliment. So we appreciate people are very complimentary, especially after they receive the vaccine.
Have many people been having reactions to the vaccine?
Yesterday we had one person, but it seems like it's more anxiety. These are people that already know that they have allergic reactions because they come with their EpiPen. So we already know, those people, those are 30-minute waits, and stuff. And it seemed like it was just more anxiety. They didn't have to go to the hospital. I think we've had, over the last 9 mega vaccine sites that we've done, I think we've had 2 that actually went to the emergency room. One of them because they ended up using their own EpiPen. And so once you use an EpiPen, you have to be monitored. And so we took that person. And the other one just wasn't feeling well, felt like they, they felt like they were having like maybe some shortness of breath. They felt very different, and it wasn't going away. And so we took that one as well to the emergency room. So out of the 21,000 plus people we vaccinated, 2 people have gone. So, but they got discharged from the ER and they went home. So.
Those 2 people, what would you recommend when it comes time for the second vaccine?
Well, if you're allergic to the vaccine itself, and, they would have been told that at the emergency room. If they're allergic, if it was me, I probably wouldn't take the second dose. They probably have a 70 to 80% protection from that first dose. But I don't know, again, I'm not the provider. I wasn't out there with them. I don't know if it was just an anxiety type of a response or if it was an actual response. So if their provider told them they shouldn't, then they should listen to the provider and not get the second dose, but ultimately it's their decision at the end.
Okay, this is the first question that came in. As far as COVID concerning maintenance personnel, what precautions or procedures are present to change air filters in buildings where COVID was present? And any additional comments about that risk level?
That's a great question. What I do tell people, and I don't know why I actually say this, but in the middle of COVID, I told them not to be changing those filters. So, because people ask me, like, they're at home, they have COVID-19, they want to start changing out those filters. In my mind, and again, I'm not an expert on HEPA or any of that, but it's just, that's a lot of dust, that's a lot of particles that you're going to be taking down and you're going to be shaking around. So I tell them to wait. I tell them absolutely open your window, at least 1.5 inches, 2 inches, all your windows. Keep your fan circulating, keep moving that air, but I tell them not to change those HEPA filters until after the event, after the COVID-19 illness has subsided and they're recovered. And then, yes, with the proper mask and everything else, go and change those filters, and get all new filters. But Dr. Bird, do you have anything to add to that?
That sounds good to me. I would think I would just follow the normal maintenance schedule, although I'm not a public health professional, but the HEPA filters are designed to filter out those things in the first place.
Right. And it shouldn't be, if your filtration system is working properly, it shouldn't be blowing it back at you. It should be actually sucking that air up into those filters. But still, when you change it out, I would recommend you change them out after that event, because if you wait, you may be at a time when we're not wearing masks any longer, and then you might, pick up something, and I would just hate for you to pick up some dust particles. You should wear a mask anyway when you're changing dirty filters.
You'll feel better.
Yeah.
Okay. I scrolled and lost the other comment. Where is it? Sorry, one moment. Well, okay. When is it too late to get the second dose?
Well, the recommendation now is up to 6 weeks after your first dose, up to 42 days after your first dose. You really don't want to wait much longer than that, but if you do, if it's 43 days or 45 days, we're still going to just give you your second dose, and then you'll be done with your series.
Will that reduce its effectiveness?
We really don't know that. COVID-19 is still fairly new. It's a novel virus, and we're learning as we progress into this disease, and so we're learning all of that right now. As we learn more, we definitely will give that information out, but at this time we don't know that.
Right, and if you have a choice in the matter, you don't want to be part of the group of people that's forming our understanding on what happens if you get it late, if you don't have to be, if you know what I mean. Just try to go in the right amount of time, and don't become a guinea pig for how does the vaccine work when you get the second dose much later.
Well, the latest on variants and vaccines, are they still effective?
Everything that we're hearing is that yes, they still are for the current variants that that are recognized. There's going to be a lot more variants, but yes, the vaccines are currently now in the clinical trials with Pfizer and Moderna. That actually wasn't tested because the variants weren't here yet. Again, this is a new virus, but with Johnson & Johnson, J&J. That has been tested, and you do see like a 50% efficacy against the variant. So we'll see as these new vaccines come out. AstraZeneca seems like it's going to be coming out soon as well, and they're cylinders. So the more manufacturers that get FDA approval, the more vaccines we should have to be able to vaccinate more of the people.
Yeah, and I have some to follow up on this. So for the variant that was first discovered in South Africa, that one, the vaccines that have been tested are not as effective with that variant. Now, they still have a certain level of effectiveness. The 50% sounds about right, Annette, that you said there. But it is lower than the other variants in terms of the effectiveness. Now, the second thing that I noticed was that the variant that originated in the UK, there are now some variants of that are showing the South African mutation also, that mutation that was seen in the South African variant. And so those are presumably also going in that direction. So the main take-home message here for everybody is that the more we let COVID linger in our community, and more people for longer, we're going to get more of these variants that are going to progressively become less and less affected by the vaccines. So these are all the reasons that we're asking people to stay vigilant. wear your masks. Now we're asking people to double mask if you can, if you don't have a KN95 or an N95. We need to get the population of COVID down to stop these variants from evolving so quickly. And if we do let it continue, we could get into a situation where a variant comes along that has very little susceptibility to vaccines.
Okay, well, I think that wraps it up. Thank you all for tuning in. The next task force report will be uploaded today to social media. Please join us every Friday at noon for the question and answer session. And please remember to direct questions or comments to @CBCovid on social media. Have a wonderful and safe weekend.
Thank you. Bye-bye.